In the smoky, chaotic mess that's left after a fire, some of the most important clues are totally invisible. But the key to cracking the case? Well, it might just come down to a cold, wet nose and a very, very happy dog. So let's dive into the amazing world of these accelerant detection canines. This guy right here, this is Canine ROT, on the job at a fire scene with his handler. Now, he doesn't carry a badge or a notepad, but believe me, his sense of smell is one of the most powerful tools in any modern arson investigation. So how on earth did man's best friend become a fire scene's top detective? So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to meet these amazing dogs, dig into their intense training, and see their incredible noses in action. Then we'll get into a pretty serious courtroom controversy, and finally figure out their true role, not as a final verdict, but as an absolutely invaluable tool. All right, so to really understand these modern-day heroes, we actually have to go back in time, way back, to when the bond between dogs and firefighters was, well, it was a little different. It all started with Dalmatians back in the 18th century. They were basically just mascots, right? Their job was to hang out with the horses that pulled the fire engines. And for decades, that was pretty much it. But then, in the early 1980s, somebody in Connecticut had a brilliant idea. What if a dog's nose could be used to sniff out accelerants? And that one question, well, it changed everything. And this is the dog that kicked it all off. Meet Maddie. She was a black Labrador who, in 1986, became the world's very first certified accelerant detection canine. Her success was the proof of concept that launched this entire field and really paved the way for every single arson dog that came after her. So that begs the question, right? How exactly do you turn a playful puppy into a precision instrument for forensic science? Well, it is an intense, and I mean intense, specialized process. The ATF, that's the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, they run the Gold Standard program. It's a 12-week marathon. First, the dog spends 6 weeks just learning all the different scents. Then it gets paired with a human handler, and they spend the next 6 weeks learning to work together as a perfect team. Only then can they even attempt the tough federal certification test. And we're not just talking about learning to smell gas. No way. These dogs are trained to pick up on entire families of ignitable liquids, from light fluids to heavy distillates, all the way to solvents. This gives them this incredible ability to detect a huge range of things an arsonist might try to use. So what's the secret sauce? How do you keep them so motivated? It's brilliantly simple. Food. It's classic Pavlovian conditioning. These dogs don't get treats for being cute. They work for every single bite of their food. When they find the source of an accelerant and sit down, that's the alert. They get their meal. So for them, finding evidence isn't just a job, it's the only way they eat. It's a game, but it's a high-stakes one. Okay, so once they're certified, these teams become this incredible asset out in the real world. And what they can do is, frankly, almost unbelievable. I love this quote from Matt Morgan. He's the handler for Canine Ash in Colorado. It just explains it perfectly. He says, if we smell a pizza, we just smell, well, pizza. But his dog, Ash, she smells the oregano, the garlic, the flour, every single ingredient separately. That is the level of detail they bring to a fire scene. It's just amazing. And to put that into perspective, look at this. A trained canine's nose is estimated to be at least, and that's a conservative estimate, 100,000 times more sensitive than ours. It's just a mind-boggling difference. They can detect amounts of accelerant so small that we would never, ever notice them. And they put this superpower to use in all kinds of places. Obviously, you've got fire scenes and burned-out cars, but they can also do things like clothing lineups, search open fields for a discarded gas can, and even screen crowds at a fire scene, because sometimes the person who started the fire sticks around to watch. And the success of this whole approach, it's undeniable. I mean, just think about the scale here. Since 1993, the State Farm Arson Dog program alone has placed over 425 of these elite canine teams all across North America. That has fundamentally changed how these crimes get investigated. But, and this is a really big but, for all their amazing biological talent, an arson dog's alert is not the final scientific word. And this is where the incredible power of a dog's nose slams right into the cold, hard requirements of a courtroom. Okay, so this is probably the most crucial point to understand. A dog's alert, that's a powerful indicator in the field. It tells an investigator, hey, there's a really good chance something is right here. But it is not scientific proof. The only thing that provides that kind of definitive proof is a chemical analysis from a certified lab. And you don't have to take my word for it. The scientific community is crystal clear on this. The NFPA 921 guide, which is basically the Bible for fire investigations, states it plainly. If the lab doesn't confirm what the dog found, that alert should not be used as evidence in court. Period. End of story. And things get even messier when you factor in plain old human error. A recent audit from the Department of Justice found some pretty big problems with how handlers were reporting their lab results. In their sample, over a third of the incidents had lab results reported inaccurately, which really blurs the line between a confirmed alert and an unconfirmed one. So, if a dog's alert isn't the final word in court, what's the point? What is their true role? Well, it's not about being a witness. It's about being the ultimate detective's assistant. Think of it this way. Their job isn't to be the evidence, it's to find the evidence. A fire scene is a huge contaminated puzzle. The dog's alert is like a giant flashing arrow, pointing directly to the one tiny piece of debris in 1,000 that investigators need to bag up and send to the lab. And the heroes who do this vital work, they are truly remarkable. You have the Labrador pioneer Maddie. You have Hansel, who broke barriers as the first certified pit bull Arson dog. You have Kai, a decorated canine from San Antonio. And now, a whole new generation, like ROTC and Ash, are carrying on that legacy, bringing justice to communities. So when they're used correctly, their value is it's immense. They slash investigation times, they cut down on the number of expensive lab samples you need to take, and most importantly, they skyrocket the chances of finding that one key piece of evidence that can solve the case. These dogs really are heroes with an extraordinary gift. They're this perfect partnership of animal instinct and human ingenuity. But their work also sits at this fascinating crossroads, and it forces us to constantly ask, where do we draw that line between their amazing natural abilities and the cold, hard, unbending standards of science?